If Messi had been born in Brazil, he would play until he was 45. It wasn't said by some influencer chasing retweets. Luis Felipe Scolari said it. A World Cup champion, an authoritative voice, and yes, a Brazilian. What lies behind that sentence that sounds like a provocation but hides deep admiration? What does it mean that a symbol of the Canarinha admits that the most Argentine of all embodies the spirit of Brazilian football better than many born in Rio or São Paulo? Today, I'll tell you a story that begins with controversy but ends with something much bigger, a reflection on what Messi represents for world football, even for those who once faced him wearing the green and yellow jersey. Scolari's statement didn't happen in just any context. It wasn't a casual compliment or an after-dinner anecdote. It was a meaningful declaration made at a moment when Messi's future is once again on everyone's lips. Will he play in the 2026 World Cup? Will he arrive with competitive rhythm? Will he continue being that player who makes rivals uncomfortable just by walking on the field? For Scolari, there is no doubt. Messi will be there. And not only will he be there, he will continue being a problem for defenders, a puzzle for coaches, and a blessing for those who love this sport. But let's take it step by step. Why does Scolari say that if Messi had been born in Brazil, he would play until 45? Because, according to him, the Brazilian player's style isn't just samba and dribbling. It's perseverance. It's the ability to reinvent oneself, to keep competing when the body no longer cooperates, to understand the game from another perspective. And in that, Messi is a master. He doesn't need to run like he did in 2011 or score 91 goals in a year. All he needs is to be there, to touch the ball twice and change the match. Isn't that what the great Brazilian number 10s did? Isn't that what Zico did, what Socrates did, what Romario did in his final years? Scolari goes even further. He compares him to Maradona, and that's where things get serious. Because it's not common for a Brazilian to speak about Diego with respect, much less use him as a point of comparison to praise Messi. But he does. And he does it from a place of knowledge, having lived World Cups, locker rooms, pressure. He says Messi has a way of carrying himself that makes him eternal, that it's not about age, but attitude, that he imagines him at the 2026 World Cup because he doesn't play like someone about to retire. He plays like someone who still has something to say. And here comes the question we all ask. Can Messi really play another World Cup? Can he reach 39 and still be relevant? The answer, if we look at what he did in Qatar, is yes. Because he wasn't just champion. He was a leader, a strategist, a symbol. And if that tournament proved anything, it's that Messi doesn't need to be in peak physical form to dominate. He needs a team that understands him, respects him, enhances him. And today, he has that. But there's something else, something Scolari didn't say outright but implied. If Messi had been born in Brazil, he wouldn't just play until 45. He would be treated like a living monument, like Pelé, like Garrincha, like a national treasure. And that leads us to ask, are we appreciating him the way he deserves? Do we understand that what he does, even in lesser matches, is part of a masterpiece that won't ever be repeated? Statements like Scolari's force us to look at Messi from another angle. Not as the Argentine who won everything, but as the player who transcends borders, jerseys, rivalries. As someone admired by a Brazilian who faced him in finals, who saw him shine in the Maracanã, who suffered his goals, and still respects him, praises him, imagines him in another World Cup. And if we imagine it too, what do we see? A slower Messi? A more thoughtful, more technical Messi? A Messi who plays as a deep-lying playmaker, distributing, organizing, or the same Messi with fewer runs but more intelligence? The truth is, if he wants to, he can. Because talent doesn't age, vision doesn't retire. Football is ultimately a matter of the mind, and in that, Messi is still the best. Now, what does this mean for Argentine football? Are we ready to support him on that path? To build a team that respects him without depending on him? To understand that his presence is a privilege, not an obligation? Because Qatar taught us one thing. Messi doesn't need to carry everything. He needs to be surrounded well, understood, allowed to be who he is. If Scolari sees him at the 2026 World Cup, who are we to doubt it? If a World Cup champion says Messi still has a long way to go, maybe it's time we stop counting his years and start counting his moments. Messi's impact in 2026 won't be measured only in goals, assists, or minutes. It will be measured in something deeper, in how he redefines what it means to compete at 39, how he turns every match into a tactical masterclass, how his mere presence forces rivals to rethink their game plans. Because Messi, even when he doesn't run like before, is still the hardest player to mark. How do you neutralize someone who doesn't need to touch the ball to influence the game? Think about it. In Qatar 2022, Messi wasn't just the captain. He was the emotional barometer of an entire team. Every gesture, every look, every pause on the ball carried symbolic weight. And that doesn't fade with age. It grows. In 2026, his role may shift, but it won't weaken. He may be less explosive, more cerebral, more patient, but just as decisive. Because modern football isn't only about speed, it's about intelligence. And in that, Messi remains the best. There's also something beyond tactics. Messi is a symbol for his teammates, fans, and rivals. His presence at the 2026 World Cup would send a message. Passion, commitment, and love for the jersey have no expiration date. You can keep competing at the highest level if your mind is right, your environment supportive, and your desire intact. Isn't that what inspires the young players who already see him as a living legend? And let's not forget the media impact. Messi in 2026 wouldn't be just a sports figure. He would be a global cultural phenomenon. Every match watched by millions, every statement dissected, every play turned into worldwide conversation. Who else can do that without being at physical peak? Ultimately, Messi's impact in the 2026 World Cup can't be reduced to stats. It's emotional, symbolic, tactical, cultural. It's proof that football played with heart and brain can challenge time itself. And if he decides to be there, the entire world will watch. Because when Messi steps onto the field, football pauses to listen. Now I ask you, on the other side, can you picture Messi at the 2026 World Cup? Do you see him lifting another trophy or simply guiding a new generation? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you enjoyed this story, subscribe, because more tales mixing football, emotion, and thought-provoking lines are coming.